Hi everyone, this is Inga Hansen, editor of Medesthetics magazine, and we're going to get started in about 3 minutes. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. This is Inga Hansen at Medesthetics. We have some more people signing on, but we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. This is Inga at Medesthetics magazine. We still have some more people coming on, so we are going to get started in just a moment. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Inga Hansen, editor of Medesthetics magazine, and we are going to go ahead and get started. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can type them into the question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Today we're going to be talking about how to create effective email marketing campaigns for your aesthetic practice. And our presenter is Corey O.J. He is the National Executive with Crystal Clear Digital Marketing. Corey attends over 20 medical and aesthetic conferences nationwide to educate physicians on staff on how to grow their business through effective digital marketing. Welcome, Corey.
Hey, Inga, thanks so much. We're excited to spend some time with you guys on the top practices of email marketing. It's definitely a pleasure to be with you guys, so thank you so much to Medesthetics. We love working with you. We're valuable time spent here, and we definitely believe this will be valuable time for us spent as well as you guys, and looking forward to jumping right in. So again, my name is Corey. I'm actually a national executive. I do a ton of conferences and trainings throughout the U.S., and we're all in retail, guys. The one thing that I can start off just by saying and kicking off with all of you that are in attendance here, we're all in the same space, right? We're all doing one job, one thing. It's just focusing on finding, serving, and keeping more patients profitably. So one of the main ways that we can talk about this, obviously there's hundreds of ways that we can reach and convert and find new patients. But in particular, how email marketing is not a trend that's dead or gone, but how much is very much alive, and how we can utilize the best practices to actually convert and to keep and to serve our patient base well. So if you guys have any questions at the end, I'm going to be here. I love the question and answer time is the best part, so we can have a conversation and just really get at the nuts and bolts of what it is that we're really trying to accomplish together. So looking forward to that time today. So as we get started, guys, just going to kick right out of the gate by asking you a couple questions, just to get our minds moving. First question, do you know your stated protocol for the collection and use in marketing campaigns of all new and existing patients, primary valid email addresses? Do you have a stated protocol for that? Do you know how many unique visits occurred on your website last month from your email marketing efforts? Now, maybe some of you guys are like, yeah, of course, I can go get that somewhere. Of course, we're tracking that or looking at that. But do you know, without even having to go grab it from a third party, how many visits actually occurred on your website because of your email marketing, and what was the return on investment? It's important to know. Do you know what percentage of those visitors actually completed an online form and or called your practice? That's essentially your site's conversion rate, right? That's typically what we're after, what we want to monitor and track and have a really good handle on. Third question is, do you know what percentage of those conversions actually scheduled an appointment and or showed up for a consultation? Another huge part of the step, right? It's not good enough to just send out a message in a bottle, email, but to actually know who showed up for a consultation. Next question is, do you know the amount of money / emails that you sent out to generate a consultation? Do you know how much money your practice received from those consultations, treatments, and procedures being performed? It's huge to track and very, very important to track. Do you know how much money you made from your email marketing efforts last month? Imagine that. You had something in place that you could actually know how much money your email produced. That'd be phenomenal, right? Do you know your ROI from those efforts? And lastly, do you care and should you? So first off, thank you so much for being here because you do care. Everybody give yourself a round of applause. We're all here. We all care. So let's just get this started with some interesting stats. So first off, 80% of future and existing patients are researching online. Online, guys. So not only are people 24/7 connected to social media, to all types of media and micro moments, as we'll get into, but 80% of your future patients and existing patients are online, wanting to know something, wanting to buy something, wanting to do something, want to go somewhere and experience everything online. 76% of the social patient basically visits 2 or more practices online. We are in retail. 62% of all searches are done on mobile devices. So as people are in their beds at night, when computers are off, buyers are on their phones, and they're actually buying in their bed, in a cafe, on vacation. So we know that the power of mobile-friendly and mobile devices have got to be on lockdown and have a very clear process to do that. Some very interesting stats. So we all know this, that we are in a socially connected and socially engaged world. Welcome to the social patient. Now, the social patient has a lower attention span. They're online, they're scrolling through the Facebook, and typically everybody just reads like the top 4 points of every article today, so our attention span is much lower. We want what we want. We know what we know. We don't need anybody to tell us, and we are 24/7 internet connected. This patient, social patient, has much higher expectations. You need to wow this person. Over and above your competitor, you need to wow them, and particularly what we mean by that is you have to have very clear ways in which you manage all of these micro moments in the digital atmosphere today. There's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, there's email, there's blogging, there's SEO. There's so many different moments that happen before someone comes to your website that you actually have to have a very clear automated process because we are socially connected and we've got to actually get a good handle on this. So here's a couple things that we're going to take away today. Number one, the importance of multiple processes to gather primary valid email addresses. Number two, we're going to communicate simple strategies that are easy to implement and make a big difference on the bottom line of your practice. Number three, we're going to discuss proven email strategies, email marketing strategies to increase per patient revenue and increase connectivity with your clients. Number four, discuss important subject lines, do's and don'ts of subject line content creation. Number five is discussing the importance of landing pages and how that maximizes your click-through opportunities to your website. Number six, how to utilize database segmentation for cross-promotion. And last but not least, email automation tools to measure and improve your email ROI, return on investment. So let me ask you another question. Let's just boil this down really quick. If you could gather one piece of information from a prospect or existing patient, what would it be? Oh gosh, it's not too hard. The context of our talk today is email marketing. So yeah, primary valid email address. Why? I mean, there's a huge, huge transition in the industry today to text messaging and to get some automation around that and text marketing, which is very effective. But email is still credible, and the reason why is because it's a direct channel. It's easy to measure, and it can be immediately activated and engaged between practice and patient. You can send direct communications. You can track those communications, and you can have a really good relationship right out of the gate via email. It's still a very, very, very credible source. So here's some important facts to consider. According to eMarketer, 97% of all small businesses regularly use email to connect with customers and patients. And keep in mind, the most popular methods for subscriber growth, they don't always lead to most effective use of consistent email campaigns. We've got to think in terms of our process has to be about brain versus brawn, and we're going to jump into that. What does it actually mean? So brain versus brawn, these are just tactics that we include here. Brain has to do in terms of your process of automation. Do you have a process of automation that's set up? So once you send an email out, an email campaign or a specials campaign or whatever campaign you send out via email, a referral-based campaign, do you have a way that actually automates that process? So here's a few different ways that we can actually automate email with a few different examples. And I'm sure you guys are very familiar with a few of these. So the first one is a general email sign-up form on the website. 74% of survey respondents use that type of a form. But what we've actually dialed in terms of data is that its 42% rate is effectiveness. 74% of survey respondents use it. 42% rate it as effective. It's an interesting gap in terms of data there, right? Well, it's an effective form. We absolutely should have these forms on our website to capture leads and actually have a way to respond to them. The next example seems to be a bit more effective. Sign-up requests that are specific to different sections of a website. So in other words, what this means is that if you have a specials ad, or if you have a call to action sign-up form on a before and after gallery slide on your website, or through your reviews page, that's a sign-up specific form. And the data supports that it's 52% use that type of a form with a 45% rate as it being effective, which is pretty powerful. And then lastly, the third example is an email capture via Facebook. So if you guys are using Facebook to get emails, which is a very powerful way to do, it says that there's a 45% usage with a 31% rate as it being effective. So these are three ways, very, very simple ways. If you're not doing them already, I definitely suggest you do them. But do you have a way to automate these inbound inquiries in a way that you're not sending emails out every day, responding to every single one? Is it automated? It's very, very important that you have a process of automation, and we're going to talk a lot about automation today. Now for Brawn, this is just about the ability to do more work than your competitor, whether it be writing more content, writing more email. Offline tactics are high in reported effectiveness, but they're really used relatively small group of marketers because they require a massive output and a large process and consistent effort. See, in this category of Brawn, there's top performers that drive email subscriber growth. The first way that we do this through Brawn by putting out more content, more email, is we've got to capture email during inbound sales calls. Just asking them the question, what is your direct email? Now you guys, you can imagine, so I do anywhere between 30, maybe 40 shows annually, conventions for plastic surgeons, dermatologists, everything in the aesthetic world. And even I get afraid of asking for an email. Well, Corey, don't you think that's a little bit intrusive? Don't you think that's maybe a little bit too harsh to ask for a cell phone? I don't think a doctor wants you to have it's hard for me to do. But it's my job. So it all depends on how we ask in order to capture the most important piece of information that your practice can use to automate email, directly communicate value-driven content in a way that builds trust between you and the people that you're seeking to serve. So 23% have a process of capturing email during inbound sales calls, and 71% rated as effective. You see the difference between Brawn and Brain in terms of process, metrics, and data? Number 2, acquire emails through loyalty program registration in store or in practice. So 18% of the population uses this strategy, but those that use it state that it's a 67% rate as effective. It's powerful stuff. Last but not least, if you have a process in place where a sales associate or a representative of your practice requests an email during the checkout process, our data shows us that about 20% of people actually do this, but when they do it, there's a 57% rate as it being completely effective. Why? Well, it's personal marketing. It's not just automation. It can't be just one or the other, separate. They actually have to, your heart and head have to be connected, right? So if you combine the two of these things, Brain, automation, and tons of content, asking for emails and doing the Brawn work, you have a gold mine, and you have a recipe for success. One is not polarized from the other. We can't just have automation without Brawn. And most importantly, we can't have Brawn without automation. It goes both ways. But when you have both, you get the treasure. So at the end of the day, guys, what is the most important component of a successful email marketing strategy? What is it? You guys would probably be surprised. It's actually you. It's you. It's your people. It's how your people use the processes that are in place. And hopefully you have a tool in place that actually allows you to manage and to measure all of your marketing campaigns specifically as it's found in your email marketing. But do you believe that? You see, a lot of times people put a lot of the emphasis on, well, my website isn't really that great and the marketing company's not doing really good. What good is your website if the phone calls and forms aren't actually handled in a way at the highest priority with the best value, with the best service? Because we know at Crystal Clear that your profit will either be won or lost on the phone. Do you really believe that your people are the most important part of your practice and the most important part of your conversion as it relates to the marketing and as it relates to profit increase and profitability? Do you really believe that? Because if you really believe that, belief equals behavior. What we believe, we truly act on. What we believe, we truly put into practice. So here's just a simple philosophy that not only do we understand at Crystal Clear, but it's a pretty much a worldwide known fact and standard, right? In the world of modern practice and medicine, and pretty much in anything in life, if you believe, behaviors will follow. Now, doctors, we don't have a deficiency of knowledge. They're all very smart people. They have a lot of knowledge. They can do marketing if they just put the effort into it. But it's not necessarily a problem of deficiency of knowledge. It's actually a problem of deficiency of execution. Doctors just don't have the time to do email at the rate at which is necessary. They don't have the time to do Facebook posts at the realm that's necessary to actually get the highest conversion. They don't have time to build their own website. So if we truly believe that it's our people, processes, and tools, belief leads to attitudes, having the right attitudes culturally and internally in the organization, which when we get a critical mass of people believing that, that leads to very clear, specific actions regarding the process of marketing, regarding our intake process, and it really increases the results at which we operate. But it takes belief, which informs our attitudes, which leads to action and execution. Makes sense. Very, very clear. Now, here's some best practices that we've discovered with some of our top doctors. So Crystal Clear, we serve about 400 doctors in 4 different countries. And these are some of the best practices that we've noticed that have been very effective and that practices have a very clear plan for. They've discovered that email marketing and automation can have an impact on your practice in the following areas. Number 1, per patient revenue. Number 2, retention. So a good email marketing campaign will actually increase per patient revenue, and we'll show you how in a minute. It'll actually increase retention of your existing patient database. It'll bring value to your referral-based system and communication and content marketing, if done right. It also, in email marketing, will build new opportunities. It'll also increase lead conversion. And lastly, it'll also focus and laser beam your team's performance. You see, and here's the big principle. Nothing at all becomes dynamic until it becomes specific. So your email marketing has got to be so specific, and when it does, it starts to take on a very dynamic effect in your practice. It's not just a one-dimensional thing anymore, because now that your email marketing is focused, it will increase per patient revenue. It will have an effect on retention. It will bring in referrals, because that content marketing will drive a result, it'll build value, and it will have a multi-factored effect on your entire organization by actually focusing it and streamlining it and automating it. Because we know that good marketing isn't just about finding new patients. It's actually about three things: finding new patients, converting them, and keeping them for life. Finding, serving, and keeping. Very, very simple. So let me just give you some practical ideas and just practical insights on how it is that you should create an email marketing campaign. So frequency and consistency is really the key. You know, we can't expect in any business really to just shoot out one email in the month of October and then 6 months later send out a couple emails here and there. It's got to be a very, very systematic, frequent and consistent posting strategy or email strategy so that you can increase connectivity with existing and new clients. So important. It's got to be a very clean and professional design, 100% mobile friendly and mobile responsive. Now, why is that important? Now, we understand, hopefully you understand, and if you don't, you will now. Your website has got to be mobile responsive, and it has to be mobile friendly because Google wants the same user experience for every single business. So they put out a policy and a regulation that says every website has got to be mobile responsive. You need to be able to operate on a cell phone, on an iPad, on a tab, anywhere to engage with the website completely. You should never have to pinch or scroll or move any images to get the full visual of an email, full visual of your social page, full visual and experience of a website. The same is true of your email. What's the purpose of an email? The purpose of an email is to get that user on a phone, look at your top 1, 2, 3, or 4 tops offerings in a very clean and clear way, and point that user from the email to your website to capture a lead. And again, 62% of people are doing that from a phone, not from a desktop, not from anywhere else, but from a phone. They are making major purchasing decisions 24/7. So your email has got to be 100% mobile responsive. In addition to that, you have to have very clear call to actions about what it is that you want them to do. Everything that should be clicked on that email should have a very clear path that's connected to itself. So for example, this little ad right here, Feel the New You. If they were to click on that, it should take them to a specific landing page talking about that very specific offering. Same thing with this, same thing with that. Very clear calls to action, very clear calls to what it is that you're actually marketing and communicating. The fourth idea is just this is going to drive per patient revenue through education and awareness. Now, I am certain that you guys are doing education and awareness and content marketing. But are we doing it in a way that's strategic, in connection and in concert and in harmony with everything? Does your Facebook follow suit with email? Does your SEO follow suit with your top keywords, treatments, and procedures? Do your landing page connect to your top key terms, services, and procedures? Everything in the digital marketing ecosystem is a breadcrumb trail designed to lead to the website, to a call to action, to get a phone call to the practice and a web form filled out, period, end of story. Just take that in for 1 second. The entire purpose of your email is to get someone to call you and to fill out a form. And you guys are probably like, yeah, okay, Corey, I know, I get that. Tell me something new. But man, if we could figure out this process in a way that actually increases leads and we can track them, if we build our email campaigns like that with a very specific directed target, then we would have no shortage of leads. But you guys would be surprised. The amount of practices that we work with and look at their campaigns, it's just completely fragmented from their overall campaign. So we've got to tie it together. Your email has to go straight to the website, build landing pages that are actually tied to these offerings, so it'll drive per patient revenue and lead generation. Lastly, you guys need to segment your database into different categories. We found that to be very, very, very successful because, again, digital marketing is not just about finding new patients. So if you've got a patient database of anywhere between 2 to 5 to 10,000 patients, which we hear all the time, doctors will say, oh yeah, we've got 50,000 patients in our database. Well, I mean, how many of those people are actually still alive? I mean, you served them 20 years ago, but are they still active? Are they still engaged? What are they clicking on in terms of the email marketing? What are they reading? Are they opening? It? Do we have an actual updated email where people are getting these messaging from us? That is so important to know. And when we get our hands on a list or a database, we have the ability to know who's active, who's not, and really dial those efforts in through tracking, management, and measurement. So email marketing cannot be just message in a bottle. It's got to be very specific. Now, continued with the frequency and consistency, here's some generally acceptable best practices that we do monthly and recommend. Number one, the happy birthdays, right? I mean, everybody loves a little happy birthday out of the blue, for sure. It makes people feel special. Digital marketing should be personal, not just an automated robot, but it really should have a personal flair to it, and that's very, very important, and that's very, very effective. Just wishing somebody a happy birthday. Now, you can automate those messages if you've got a good software tool to use. I definitely would seek that out. But a good software or a good email campaign would actually allow you to send out automated birthday messages through your software to your patients once you put their date of birth in and set that campaign up. It's actually pretty simple, and it drives a tremendous value. The second, top best practice, monthly practice, is creating some events and specials and promotions that you guys can blast out via your email as well with your top 1 or 2 offerings. And then number 3, quarterly link to the blog. So if you write a blog or if you have a blog, it's got to be kept up to date. It's got to be frequently and consistently posted and sent and updated. And you've got to, again, attach that to specific places that you're directing those people to, which is primarily your website to capture a phone call and a form. But those are really 3 very, very simple ways that you can build on your website, connect it with the email marketing campaign, and really start to lead a breadcrumb trail of engagement. You want people to know that you've got specials. You want people to know that you care about your patient database and their birthdays. And you want to educate people with your blog and your content frequently, consistently, and actively so you don't lose touch. Now, here's a really, really very, very important piece. Out of any article that you will read online about email marketing, hands down, like if there's 15 tips online about the best tips for email marketing, the number 1 way to track and to get the most out of your email is through automation and management. So what you see in front of you today is actually crystal clear. We built a software and a tool for us to use so that we can actually be effective at what we do because we're in the same business as you guys. We need to make sure that we understand how to take in a new prospect, whether it comes through email or social media, someone that's considering a consultation. They can be in that status. They can be in the status when they come in as a lead as someone that did a consultation, treatment being considered. Do you have a way to manage all of your opportunities, whether they come through email or phone call or Facebook, whatever? Do you have a way to manage with your people, processes, and tools through every single step of the sales process? If you don't, I would consider seeking out a tool, either asking us about ours and how we built it for our doctors across the country, or if you wanted to use, we can actually recommend some as well, and we'd love to have that chat with you. But this important step of tracking, management, and automation helps you to utilize what we call sales statuses. In a sales status, you have the ability to track where people are at in the sales process and to understand, okay, how many emails do we get in, and how many of those emails converted through the sales process. This is the missing gap of marketing, guys. It's not that we don't have a good website. It's not that we don't have good people. It's not that we don't have email going. It's just that we have no real process by which that we can actually say, am I 100% certain that I'm getting the most out of every single opportunity that comes from my marketing, from my website, and can we track that real time? So utilize sales, what we call sell statuses in your email campaigns. This will absolutely increase your conversion throughout the entire sales process. Now, in terms of the strategy of your email, again, and the setup of them, definitely try to limit the amount of information and the number of offers, right? So if you've got like 20 offers in your practice that month, you definitely don't want to bog down the user with 20 offers and an overwhelming email. It's the same idea where you don't want to have a website that has like so much content that nobody at all wants to read. It's got to be simple. It's got to be clean. And we just suggest that you limit the amount of overall number of offers. 2, 3 tops. The fewer concepts and offers, the higher the click-through rates, right? And that makes sense. So if you've got, a really clean layout, it's much easier to navigate from a design perspective. Very simply, will you know what you're looking at, what you need to do, and where you want that path, where you want to take that patient to act on. And really, the ideal is one service. If you can do one a month or one every 2, twice a month, one really good service and procedure. We typically recommend monthly themed specials, but it's not always practical, right? So if you really focus on one good one, you can get the most out of it. Use email to build value in your brand. This is a must. So must. Again, link offers or your concepts to a specific landing page. I can't stress that enough. It's very, very simple to do. If you guys have a web designer, it's just by using the bit.ly graphic, embedding an image. It's very, very simple. But if you can get someone to go from your Facebook to the website, from your email to the website, you've got to build separate landing pages that are in conjunction and connection with what you're offering through that email. Makes sense. Landing pages must have call to action, along with multiple options to contact your practice. So it's not just enough to lead them to the end of the cliff. You actually have to get their information, right? That is all that we're after. An email should produce an action, and that action should be, we need your name, direct email, direct cell phone contact number, what you're interested in, and when we can schedule you. That is the purpose of an email. Now let's see what this looks like in the real world, right? So this is how it should look. I mean, an email promotion would go out in conjunction with your February specials, and all of that really should be blasted out not only through email, but through social media. This is what we call theme-based promotional marketing. We know, especially for crystal clear clients, that specials is proven to be an incredibly effective way of driving traffic and increasing connectivity with prospects, existing and past patients and new patients alike. So you essentially set up a special. Now, the most important thing, the bottom line here is, again, not just sending out message in a bottle theme promotions. Do you have a mechanism or a tracking in place that you have all of the data that you need to know in terms of what did that ad produce? What did the email produce? So you should have a software in place or some kind of analytics or reporting. I'm sure that you guys use Google Analytics or Facebook Analytics or some kind of reporting, I hope. If not, we have a separate group for you after the call. I'm just kidding. But we really should have a way that says, all right, how many people went to my site because of this content on our webpage? If we run a promotion on January specials, how many visitors came to our site because of it? How many sessions were created on our page? And how many pages were viewed as a result of that content? This is a good recipe for good content marketing from your website and email, but you have to track this. You need to know, because this ultimately will boil down and funnel to your ultimate number and ultimate conversion, which is how many forms and phone calls did you get because of these 832 visitors because of those January specials, right? That is the most important. You want to know not just sending out campaigns, but what did we get from them? And right down the line. So if you've got content-driven posts and emails regarding lip enhancement, Brazilian butt lifts, whatever the procedure is, you should have the ability to know how many people went to our landing page for January specials, how many people went to our landing page for lip enhancement augmentation. We should know this. Digital marketing has to be data-driven, not just feelings, emotions, and design-driven. And we've got to marry the two. So tips to improve your open rates in terms of creating a good subject line, which brings us to our next micro topic here. This is so important because you could be sending out emails and just the subject alone could cut off engagement and conversation and connection with about half of your audience if your subject is incorrect. So definitely some of the best practices you should do, if you're not doing already, is personalize with first or last name. If you can do that, it's a great way to make it very, very specific, so it doesn't go to spam filters right away. Vary subject lines when using repetitive emailing. So example, like a monthly newsletter, that would be a good subject. Monthly newsletter delivered to your database. Keep the subject line short, less than 50 characters. It's very, very important. You don't want to write a thesis statement in the subject line. That seems self-explanatory, right? Tips to improve your open rates, again, is to create groups. So this is very, very powerful. Again, this goes in line with the idea that nothing becomes dynamic until it becomes specific. And if you can actually segment your database in your practice to target specific messages to specific groups focused around your services and procedures, like your Botox patients, like your cool sculpting patients, like your anybody considering opportunity. So all of these would be segmented into separate groups, and you have the ability to track the effectiveness of your email campaign just to your Botox patients. You have the ability to say, okay, how many of my cool sculpting patients actually opened the email, were interested? Are they a hot prospect? And can we cross-market these people? It's very, very important to do that. Do you have something in place to segment out your groups? Number 2, leverage promotional emails with contests, giveaways, and VIP programs. I'm sure some of you guys are doing this. A really, really great way to do this is maybe doing something on Facebook Live, like any kind of raffle, or just something that would build engagement around promotions, giveaways, and shows that personal, fun flair of your practice. And it's just a fun, engaging way to leverage promotional content to get them to do what you want them to do, which is give me your name, your email, and all that. You're building trust through those micro moments, through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through all of that. So leveraging a promotional email with a contest and a giveaway is incredibly, incredibly valuable and effective. Now here's a big one, guys. Resurrecting or re-engaging lost patients with surveys and polls. So if you've got, like 20% of your database is just non-existent, you served them 20 years ago, how is it that you're actually re-engaging them? Because they probably love you. They probably had a really great experience. But how do we actually maximize that patient, get them to be a really strong part of your referral base, and then begin to start segmenting and driving content to them? Those could be the little hidden jewels in your database, but because you don't necessarily have a process to email market them or have content, just by making that little tweak, you will get such value from your database and resurrect maybe some lost patients as well through email marketing them. Now, what to avoid in your subject lines to increase open rates? Free, right? All the salesman stuff, all the salesy talk, which is free, deal, act now, other sales types of phrases like that. The second one is any kind of bait and switch misleading subject lines, right? Like, if you buy this, I will give you 16 of this. That essentially, that just doesn't build credibility. People see through that right away, and they pretty much click delete or unsubscribe. But again, everybody's in retail. Everybody's selling something, so we don't want to be overly cautious or overly concerned about how we do this. Right here, if you just stick to this, don't put free, don't put deal, don't put act now, and stay away from those types of terms and phraseology, you'd have the ability to allow people to see more of your emails, open them, and not let them just go straight to spam. Now, here's another very, very important part of tracking. What you see here, just 2 slides. To the left of this, normally it'd be, for me, in my software that I use, a doctor's name. So I can't show you that. It's just not HIPAA compliant. But right here, what you see is a subject that we've actually built for an email campaign. Don't forget to register for the Medesthetics next webinar. Hey, you guys did. Good job. High five. But what you see next to it is that there's a point value associated with this particular one person that starts to track them and manage them and measure them as a hot prospect. And we assign a value score with that. That value score is anywhere from 16 to 19, and that's how we've associated the value. So once they get to the highest value, we are tracking all throughout the stages of their clicks, of their open rates, of their bounce rate. We know exactly with one click of a button through that email marketing campaign how hot that prospect is. So would you want the ability to call 500 people that are not even interested? Or would you like to call the 500 people that actually are interested? And do you see where I'm going? So many people in the practice in modern medicine today that are on the phone, their efforts are scattered. Their efforts are all over the map. It's feelings driven. It's design driven rather than data driven. You've got to be able to have the brain in process and the tracking in process to actually know how many people are opening my emails. What are the read rates? What are the bounce rates? Bounce rates is just essentially if they open the email and they leave. It's the same thing as if they go to your website, they go to the page, and then they leave. What are the click-through rates of that email? Do you have a way to gauge the hottest prospects at that moment for the people that are looking at your email marketing? Consider, guys, proactive calling repeat offenders. Maybe people that have just constantly opening emails, calling, and just constantly engaged, but you wouldn't know that if there wasn't any kind of mechanism in place. Ultimately, guys, it all boils down to how many prospects ended up on your practice site and called your practice because of an email that you sent. Wouldn't that be powerful to track, know, and to manage, and increase your per-patient revenue? So at the end of the day, what is the most important component of a successful email strategy? It's actually me. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. It's you. It's your people. It's your processes and your tools. That is what makes a difference in everything. It makes a difference in your website. It makes a difference in your content. It actually makes all the difference in your social media, how you present your best foot forward to the world digitally. Your people, processes, and tools makes the difference in how you answer the phones and provide value. Without people, processes, and tools, none of this would be possible. Digital marketing wouldn't exist. So guys, that's the top practices in email marketing. I hope you've learned a lot. I always learn a lot just by doing these things. Thanks so much to the Medesthetics magazine, and I hope you got a lot from the top practices in email marketing. This is just scratching the surface, scratch and sniff version of what we do and can communicate here. So I appreciate your time. And if you guys at all would like to take a deeper dive in this with me personally, that's my name. That's email directly, and you can reach me directly there. Shoot me an email. At least give me some feedback on how I did, and I would always love and welcome that feedback. I would love that. And I would love to have even a bit more of a deeper dive intimately with your practice. If you have any questions, I can absolutely help you with a lot of these things. Would love to chat with you about that. So with that in mind, that being said, we can open up to some questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Corey. And we do have some questions for you that came in. And one, I'm going to put sort of it in two parts, but it had to do with the landing pages for email campaigns. And one was, do you need a custom landing page for each campaign? And does your software, or is there other software out there that will create those landing pages for you with your campaigns?
Yeah, great question. That's a really, really great question. So again, landing pages are incredibly important. How you want to align your top landing pages are really connected to your top services and procedures, right? It goes in line with your business goals, your top revenue generating procedures. If you just start with 3 to 5 of those top revenue generating procedures that you know you're going to get the most value into your practice for per patient revenue, you need to find a provider that's going to actually build a website and landing pages in addition to the main website that's going to actually market those pages strategically. Attach that to SEO, which means all of your search engine optimization key terms, and then drive all of your marketing efforts to those pages. So your Facebook, Facebook, you should be having a daily post that should be driving your top services and procedures that should point them to a website. And yes, our software will track how many people came to the actual landing page for the specific offerings that are listed, for sure. All of those things should be engaged and not fragmented from each other.
Great. And someone had a question. You had mentioned the value of capturing emails through sales calls and service calls. And they were wondering, how do you handle that in terms of having the proper permission to then use that email for communication if it's over the phone?
Yeah, let me just make sure I understand the question. So it has to do with the phone process. Would you mind just repeating that again so I understand the question?
Yes, I think what she's asking is, if you're asking for a full email over the phone and then start communicating by email, do you have the proper permission? Because a lot of times when people fill out a form, they check something saying you can communicate with them.
Yeah. So one of the important things in any practice, especially for HIPAA compliance, if you're doing any kind of phone call tracking, which is what we do, so there's 2 ways to take in a lead, right, online that comes from the website. It's either through a phone call or a web form. Crystal clear, we're a HIPAA compliant company. HIPAA compliance is incredibly important. So as long as you're qualifying through a phone lead, that this call may be recorded for quality assurance, and you capture that phone call, record it, and put it in the software so that you can follow up, manage, and measure that lead. Now, a web form, if you're gathering an email, there is nothing breaking any kind of rules at all. It's just a digital marketing lead. As long as we're a HIPAA compliant company and disclosing that we are HIPAA compliant, capturing an email, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's put in your database, which you should have a company and a server that actually is a secure HIPAA compliant company, so you're not at risk. And Crystal Clear is secure and HIPAA compliant. It's not a problem by taking emails, names, and phone numbers. Does that make sense?
Yep. And somebody asked, this is one I'll answer real quick, about whether they could get a copy of the presentation to share or review. And so I did want to let everyone know that this will be posted on our YouTube channel and our website, medestheticsmagazine.com/webinar, within the next day to 2 days. So you are welcome to share that and check back to review it. And then let's look at our next question here. One question is, how frequently, you had some monthly and quarterly ideas of how much is too much in terms of the number of emails you're sending out?
Yeah, great question. Because you don't want to overload your patient database. Now, each doctor is a bit different in terms of what they're offering and how much and how frequent. But we typically tell and recommend typically between 2 to 4 emails per month. And good emails. So if you guys remember, I showed you an example through that presentation of what an email would look like that we create. And it's very streamlined. It's essentially like a newsletter. It covers 2 to 4 topics that are your most important topics of that month. It educates the patient, and it keeps them connected, and you're driving valuable information. It's value selling through email versus just prices and, overloading them with too much information. So typically 2 to 4 emails a month.
Great. And we had a question about the different automated software that is out there that allows you to track these efforts. Someone was wondering if you could give a ballpark on the fees.
Yeah, that would be on a deeper dive with us. I wouldn't necessarily do that on this call here, and I'd love the opportunity with anybody that would be interested. And that's not necessarily the purpose of this call, but again, guys, we're all in retail, so I would love to show you how we do this software and what we've built by doctors for doctors and the CEO of our company on how to track, manage, and automate the entire digital marketing system so that you can find, serve, and keep more patients. I would want to throw the price out there completely so that you understand the full value of what we do first, rather than just jumping into price, if that's okay.
Okay. And somebody had a question of, do you have any insight into the best times or days for sending email campaigns?
Yeah, so that goes true for social posts too, if not even more so with social media. Typically, 8 a.m. around lunch between 12 and 1, and then between 6 to 8 p.m. are the best times to actually send social media posts. But now, because people are so connected every single second, people are checking their email when they wake up, in the bathroom, sometimes if they're in the shower. We are in a 24/7 connected world. So with email, that's the power of it, is that you can, as long as we hit that rhythm that doesn't overload your database, which you've actually formulated, which is anywhere between 2 to 4 emails a month, that is the rhythm, a monthly rhythm of 2 to 4 per month. It's not necessarily daily or hourly in that picture, because email is less frequent in terms of people opening and looking at it as social media. People are on social media every single second more than they are through email. While email is still powerful, it's still important, but typically the rhythm that we set for email is 2 to 4 monthly. That's the best rhythm, without a doubt.
And I just wanted to clarify, you had talked about needing to vary your subject lines, and then you had mentioned monthly newsletter. Now, does that mean that people should use monthly newsletter and then add on a subject line, or they should not use something like that?
Yeah, that's one example, monthly newsletter or July specials, from Dr. So-and-so. It's just removing those languages that seem, again, like bait and switch, like it comes across not genuine or tricky, or most importantly, salesy, because what's happening through email filters nowadays is that there can be words and terms that will automatically filter it out of your inbox. You won't even see it. So in order to make sure that that passes through those filters, you have to remove those languages in those terms and put things that are a bit more generic, removing the bait and switch and removing the salesman language in terms.
And once somebody unsubscribes to your email list, is there an opportunity to re-engage that patient?
There is, but only with their permission, and if you've got a software that you can use that you can re-engage them, but we don't, if somebody unsubscribes, in our system, we actually have if someone is in a consult no-show status or unsubscribe, we actually send them an automated email the moment they unsubscribe saying, thank you so much, sorry that we couldn't serve you now. In the future, if you'd love to come back, we'd love to have you. But we don't, go chasing them and, knocking on their doors or anything like that. It's just that every single step of the game, even if someone has a complaint via email or a bad tone in their mouth, we're always driving value in order to say, hey, we love you, we care about you, we wish we could have served you at every stage of the game.
And we had a question about high bounce rates, and I want to make sure I understand this. It says, how do you work with high bounce rates without a lot of visibility into why that email has bounced or been suspended?
Yeah, good question. I would say that's where it gets into your tracking. So you can't manage what you don't measure. If you're not using any kind of an email tool or software, primarily what's out in the industry now is like MailChimp and Constant Contact and things that track click rates and open rates. But what you don't know within those softwares is you actually don't know what they're, and you don't know in terms of what content they're reading or how interested they are, what the hot prospect leads are. So you need a software that's actually telling you more than just message in a bottle marketing. You need to know not only click rates and open rates, but what are they reading, How can you access that? And how hot of a prospect are they? What's their overall frequency of usage through the email? Does that make sense? And I hope that answers that question.
And now somebody is asking, is there any method of turning IP addresses of your website visitors into email addresses?
So the question is there any possibility of turning the IP address into email addresses? No. Nope.
Okay. And there are a couple questions that came in that are very specific to your services. I think it might be better to have you reach out by email.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, so we'll make sure you get those. And then those are all the questions we have at this point, and also I think about all the time we have. So thank you so much, Corey, and thank you to everyone who attended. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much. I really appreciate it as well, and look forward to touching base with anybody that would like to have a further conversation. Thanks.